Today we meet Eve Alexiadis. Eve is a 23-year-old from Melbourne who lives with a congenital heart condition.
My parents were so strict on going every year to the Royal Children's because as I was going at 12 and 13 and 14, Dad was like, the kids probably won't remember, but the parents seeing a 15-year-old, 14-year-old walking around the wards handing out presents is just one mum wrote me a letter back saying, like, this is the light at the end of the tunnel we needed to see.
Before we begin, we'd like to acknowledge that we're recording on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, otherwise known as Warrung. We acknowledge the traditional owners and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We pass that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander listeners. Eve, thank you for joining us. Where are you actually joining us from?
So I'm joining from Victoria, just from my place in Williamstown.
Beautiful, beautiful Victoria. I'm so jealous. Oh my God. Is it like nice down there now? I feel like you guys had a bit of a cold moment.
Yeah, we had a bit of a cold snap and I wasn't really ready for it. But now it's really hot. I think Saturday is meant to be 33. So.
Oh my God. Are you near the beach or?
I'm directly across it. So it's quite nice.
Oh, perfect spot, perfect spot. Look, speaking of all things the ocean, you have some like kind of crazy hobbies. Tell me a little bit about what kind of hobbies you have.
Yeah, I am relatively active and my hobbies have never really strayed in like the normal set of hobbies. In being close to the beach, I think it's definitely had an impact on them. But then again, half of my hobbies include really cold weather, so I'm not too sure. But yeah, I play ice hockey. I am a pretty full-on skier and I swim all weathers and all mornings. So, yeah.
I am obsessed with that. Do you do like ice baths and stuff?
Oh, I just go to the beach in winter.
That's
like it kind of, yeah.
I think you...
Like before work and I'm like, oh, it's only 10 degrees outside. We'll go for a swim.
I'm obsessed with you. I want to be you, but I just don't feel like I could never. I want to.
It took a while. I had a friend that would run down to the river near my beach house in winter and she was like, oh, come down. I was like, it's 4 degrees outside. I'm not coming for a swim. And then she pestered me into doing it. And then I started doing it. And now I'm obsessed with it. So like you just need someone to like push you in. Because I'm like, if you're not cold, I'm not going to be cold. And then, yeah. And we used to surf together in the mornings as well.
There's nothing like a bit of peer pressure to get you over the slump.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely needed that for the weather.
That's it. Look, tell me a little bit about your heart condition.
Yes. So I was born with needing an ASD repair and a VSD repair. So I had two like large holes in my heart that needed to be repaired. So they were repaired when I was 2. And then I had some cysts removed when I was like in my sternal area when I was like 5, and then I had wires taken out when I was 12, and then last year as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I've got 2 leaking valves now, so mitral and tricuspid leaking valve.
Yeah, okay. What was, I guess, in terms of, when you said that like the holes were fixed, what does that kind of entail? What kind of surgery?
So open heart so I had open heart when I was 2, and I think they just kind of go in and stitch them up. I feel like the heart surgeon would be like, that is the most ridiculous way to explain it. But in my head, that's what they did.
That's it. I feel like when you're so young, I still do the like, I've got a hole in my heart and they just like bypassed it. And people are like, well, what's bypass? And I was like, I should know, but I couldn't tell you.
Same. I think it was only this year or last year, I'm so bad, where I met all these other heart kids that were really onto their heart conditions, like with exactly who, what, when, where, how. And I was like, I'm the bad one. I just said there was holes in my heart. So now I'm a bit more official.
Well, I'm the same as you. I remember the first time I like spoke to heart kids, I was like, I had my surgery when I was like 3, and my mum was like, you had it when you were 2. Like you just turned 2. Like, what? It's like, wow.
And I was like, wow, I really should know this myself.
That's a bit, yeah. I need to get it like in my notes app so I don't act like a fool every time. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God. Look, obviously you live a very active and busy life. What is it like, I suppose? Are you always crazy busy? How do you kind of manage everything?
I think I've just always been really busy. I think when I was little, Mum put me into all these ridiculous sports to see which one would stick. So I ended up doing like karate for 20 years because she just put me, and I was awfully uncoordinated. So we tried the whole dancing sort of thing and it was not for me. So I think because I did so many sports growing up, and then I kind of just continued it. And then at school, I was in a really lucky environment where they kind of just let you do anything and everything. So did heaps of sport with school, or like sport and music as well. And then, yeah, I've just kind of kept it going. And I think when you're born, for me, I was born with a condition, so I never saw my life any different. So because it was like that from the start, I guess I just continued with being busy and crazy. Mum always said that as soon as I had the first surgery, I went from being like a quiet baby to super hyperactive. So I think I just ran with it from 2, 3 years old.
So your body's like, yes, like we're going crazy.
Yeah. Yes, we are not blue. We can breathe. Let's go.
That's it.
Yeah.
I really love that. Has there ever been kind of a period when I do these chats, I never want to like put my experience on someone else, but I know for myself, there's been periods where I've felt really frustrated because I've had to slow down because of my heart, and I get a little bit frustrated by that. Have you had periods where I guess you've had to kind of do it slow because of your heart?
Absolutely. And I think there's been, like, when I've had surgeries when I've been older, I've got a subsidiary condition as well with my heart where I've got like connective tissue disorder, Ehlers-Danlos. So I've had like shoulder reconstructions and getting my hips done, all these crazy things that are connected to my heart. And every time I've had an experience like that, I've had to go from 100 to 0. And then you have gotten to a really good place in what you're doing in sport, or you might got to a good part in work or school, and then you have to go all the way back and do nothing, and you've got no control over that. And I've always found that really hard to deal with, just mentally, because you've got to slow down and take a break, but it's a break. You didn't go break your ankle, you didn't go fall over, it wasn't an injury per se, it's just something you have to do. So yeah, I've always found that pretty difficult.
Yeah, I completely agree because it's one of those things where I think, you know, your heart affects so much of your body, but you don't quite realize it. And then, yeah, when you have a condition that's your heart, you got all these like random little things on the side that happen that kind of come back to it. And I don't understand how that works, but it does.
Yeah. And I always thought when I was younger as well, I could never tell if it was my heart or if it wasn't. Like, I remembered running at school, and I now run, but at the time I used to get myself almost like anxiously worked up about it because I could never tell, am I pushing myself? Is it my heart that's not coping? And I couldn't tell if it was me or if it was my heart, in a sense. So I always found that hard because then I'd self-limit myself, and that was, again, I'd have to slow down, figure out what's going on, go through all the tests again, and then continue on. So
yeah, the anxiety of like, I don't know whether this is just physical exertion or if it's something more.
Or if I'm putting myself in a risky position.
Yeah, that's it. Mum always being like, you're going to hurt yourself one day. And I'm like, am I though?
Am I really? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
or I'm like, am I just unfit, or is it like...
So I always freak out now when I like go up a level in fitness. I'm kind of like, is this okay? Like,
yeah, is this okay? Yeah, like which threshold is normal?
See, such a bizarre concept. Look, one thing that I really wanted to, I guess, pick your brain about as well is like, obviously that relationship with your body. I guess when we talk about more in a mind-body kind of connection, how have you, I suppose, how is your body image when it comes to your heart, and how has your journey been with your body as you've kind of grown up through your surgeries?
I think there's been a few things. I remember when I was little and I had got my scar for the first time, my dad always tells a story where I'd like literally flash everyone being like, look how cool this scar is. And which I have learned that you probably shouldn't do that to random people. But now that I've gotten older, I think it's really interesting that when I show people my scar, probably from like 12 onwards, the first reaction was not, oh my God, that's so cool. It was, oh, that scar's not that bad, or you healed pretty well, like assuming I'm ashamed about it. Like, it was always how your scar recovered rather than, oh, you've got a scar. And I always thought that was a really interesting take, because I had never, with the physical scarring, I had never really had a problem with it. Sometimes I was like, oh, sometimes I thought it was funny if I was wearing like a low cut dress and you could see the scar line, but that really faded because I was like, look, it just looks like I've got cleavage, we'll just go with that. And then, but when I show people now and their response is, oh, it healed really well, or it just, that automatic assumption that I'm not happy with it, so they're telling me it's better than what it should be. And I know it took me a while to grapple with that, because I was like, they're not actually telling me it's bad, they're just giving me the response that they think they should give me, which is, that looks great, or like, that looks great from what you've gone through, but they just word it differently. So I think that is something that I've had to grapple with. And as well, it's just not feeling like your body's letting you down, but when you do have to go back and do the tests, and when you have to go figure out something's new, and then you've got to go, you're quite an active person and then you're not active, and then there's the whole teenage girl. Like, I've associated a lot with weight as well, because you've stopped working out and your body changes, and it's just a constant kind of, you can feel like your body's letting you down sometimes, but then you're so lucky to be where you are. So it's that mind game you play with yourself.
Every day.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's like, it takes, what you were saying before, it takes so much empathy to like understand that what somebody's saying to you is what they think that they should say, and they're trying to do it.
Yes.
I think that's such an interesting thing, that the automatic reaction when people are uncomfortable with what's happened to you is to be like, oh, like, you can hardly tell. But yeah, it's like, well, actually, I'm really proud of this. Like, it's okay.
I was like, I'm sad that it's fading. When they're like, oh, that's fading, I'm like, don't tell me that.
Yeah, I'm a little bit like, you can still see it, guys.
I was like, it's still obvious, especially when I get a tan.
Yeah.
Like,
that's it. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting thing, because often, like, I think with a lot of other surgery scars, or I've heard people speak about surgery scars that they've had, and they're like, oh, it's just like an ugly like thing. But I've never had that relationship with my scars, thinking that it was ugly.
No, I find it weird seeing baby photos where I didn't have a scar. Like, I've only got a few, and a friend of mine who's also a heart kid was like, oh yeah, this is like the only photos I have without a scar, and I never considered that. And I looked at the photos and I was like, oh my gosh, true.
That's so weird.
There was a time in my life where I didn't have it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go find pictures of myself now.
Yeah.
I've never, like, it's just always been there. The 3 little dots at the bottom.
Exactly. Always there.
So it's so trippy. That is so trippy.
Yeah.
I guess now, having this lifestyle and looking after yourself, how have you gone in terms of, I suppose, how is your healthcare going? How are you going with managing your health and your heart?
Oh, I think it's such a journey. And as we were saying before, like, getting better at knowing what even your heart condition is, and then transitioning through doctors. So my cardiologist was always external from the children's. So I've kind of had him consistently. So I know that some people have to do like the children's to adult transition. I've always had the same cardiologist. So the heart stuff is fine, but going to my appointments by myself, or getting the right documentation to fill in other doctors, and then to find out that this may be connected to your heart condition, or I had to get my tonsils out last year, and then knowing if I should get my tonsils out of my heart. So kind of transitioning from having mum and dad handle all of those to me handling all of these, and then knowing what's important and what's not, and speaking for myself. I found that really difficult. And then going into a working environment, having to take time off to go see those doctors and see those specialists has definitely been something that I took for granted when I was younger. Mum pulled you out of school, you went to your cardiologist, you got dropped back at school, and that was it. Or you went home, had an ice cream, and you're like, yep. But now having to do that myself has been definitely a learning experience. Yeah. Really feel like I'm adulting.
Right. It's the same thing. Sometimes I like rock up to appointments and I forget the things that I need to know.
Yep. Or having to write the notes, and then coming out of the appointment being like, if I told them this, do you think they would have given me a different reaction, or should I have told them that?
Or they're like, oh, I forgot to mention like this scenario, or like, or that kind of mums. I don't know how my mum keeps it all in her brain. Like,
I know, because they just remember absolutely everything.
Everything, right?
And I was like, I couldn't. They rock up to appointments and bring things up that, like, I remember as a kid, I'd tell them 3 months before the appointment, and she'd be like, and she told me this. And now I'm the one who has to rack my brain and go through everything that I need to tell them. And I think as well, when you're not in like the Royal Children's or like the childcare and moving to adult care, they just send you off places instead of them coming to you in a sense. So then you're on this like wild goose chase to find what's going on with your body and who you need to see, and getting answers and not getting answers. So I think that's been pretty tiring.
Yeah, the referral process of like, I've got to get these results for this person, but this doctor also needs to see these results, and I need to link it.
I have results flying around everywhere. I think there's probably every doctor in Melbourne has one of my results somewhere. Like, so I'm starting to collate them, which has been they're almost therapeutic in a sense.
I went to Coles the other day and I ran into my dentist, and like he knew it was just funny.
Like, yes, I've been brushing my teeth. I'm not in the sugar aisle.
I was like, I've got a new dentist. It was my old dentist, and he was like, oh my God. And I was like, that's like, everybody here knows me now. And
yeah,
like, that's just HeartKid things.
It's HeartKid things. And like, yep, I had to take antibiotics for the doctors and this for the dentist. And
yeah, the antibiotics routine. Oh my gosh. Yeah, amoxicillin comes through.
Yeah. all the time.
That's it.
And having to like tell the GP why you need it.
Oh.
And they're like, you all the time.
I always get ear infection because I have issues with my ear, nose, and throat because of my heart. Like,
Yep.
my zipper scarf, like all that sort of stuff. I guess as well, has there been any period in your life, and I know that like you said earlier about, your friend used to go swimming at the river, and we mentioned the peer pressure. Has there been any period of your life in which like, I guess you've really had to set really strong boundaries around what you can and cannot do, or what you want to and what you don't want to do around activity in your heart?
Yeah, I think for me, it's come as a blessing and a curse sometimes, because I almost in like going through adolescence and like drinking and doing all of that, I was really, really strict on having a heart condition. And it almost helped me in a sense, because no one, my true friends, wouldn't push me, because I was like, no, I have a heart condition, can't do that. And I found that really almost helpful. I remember saying to mum at a period in time where like my friends were going, like everyone was doing their thing and turning 18 and doing whatever they felt like recreationally. And I definitely put my hand up a few times and said, no, got a heart condition, not doing that. And no one pushed it because I had a reason. And it's unfortunate to say that sometimes you do need a reason. But then on the other hand, on the other side of things, I can get told for being too cautious, because they've gone, oh, your heart's repaired, or oh, you've only got a leak and gut, oh, sure, you can do that. But I'm very cautious that I've been given this opportunity to keep my body in an order. And so it's probably I'm a bit more cautious than peer pressure in a sense, if that makes sense.
Which I think is probably really helpful. I think a bit of healthy anxiety around that stuff is always, know your body best, like 100%. I guess in terms of that, do you have any advice for, I suppose, not only managing care, but also setting those boundaries for young ones kind of coming up?
Yeah, I think, as you said, no one knows your body better than you do, and kind of get a really good understanding of what you're comfortable with and what you're ready to push your body to do. Or if you're going to make a decision, make sure it's a decision that you want to be making for you. And if you've got a really good understanding of what you want, it's much easier to communicate. And then set yourself up with a really good group of friends that kind of understand your limitation, or even just your out on your own body, because then people are less, if they know and you've got a strong idea of what you want, people are less likely to push. Or if they do push, you really don't care, because you've got that strong basis foundation of what you feel.
100%. My best mate, who was my housemate, is so good. Whenever we are out and I get a little bit excited, she's always like, okay, like, nah. She kind of reins me in and reminds me. And it's the best thing to have somebody like that, I think, who just like knows me and knows in a sense that when I'm not super excited and overstimulated, I'd be like, oh no, that's so fine. So
yeah, exactly. Or when I have a friend like that as well, because everyone gets swept away in the moment, especially when you're going through that whole exciting time in your life and you get swept away. And I had a few friends that were like, no, let's just think about it for a sec. Or sometimes your friends are even more protective over you than you are. And they're like, no, let's not do that. Like my boyfriend's hilarious. I never bring antibiotics ever anywhere. And he goes, you're the most uncoordinated person I know. You're going to fall over and scrape your leg and then you're going to get infected, blah, blah, blah. So he always has it in his car because he knows that I will just naturally forget. So just, surrounding yourself with people like that's always good.
He's a G. He's a good one.
Yeah, he's good. He's really good.
That's so good.
He's like, have you booked your appointment? It's been 12 months. I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't I?
It's like, okay, but also, yeah, all right.
Yeah, fine. I'll do it.
I love that. I guess walk me through as well. I'm really interested in terms of like your journey. I think it's really cool that you've had the same cardiologist the whole time. I guess in terms of support services, when did you kind of come into contact with HeartKids? Were they there from the beginning or come in later?
So from what I understand, I always had a loose connection with HeartKids. I never did any of the camps as a camper, but every year I used to drop off Christmas presents to the HeartKids ward in Victoria. So, well, not HeartKids ward, cardiology ward. The HeartKids don't know the ward. But I'd go and give presents, and I always dealt with Tracy from HeartKids, who I just adore. And she had a really good connection with mum and dad. And then mum and dad loosely did charity, well, not loosely, he did heaps of charity work with his work with HeartKids. So I never had I never went on the camps because we were always as a family off doing stuff and it never really worked timing wise. But I had a strong connection with HeartKids from growing up just by going over at Christmas Eve and doing all of that. And then I think it hit year 9 or year 10, I think. And year 10, and the HeartKids Youth Advisory was formed. So I naturally just kind of popped myself there with Tracy and with Beck, who was initially running it. And we did all the youth advisory work that we do now with creating events and just keeping youth engagement, helping out in the camps. And then the first time I went on a HeartKids camp was as a team leader, which was really, really cool. So then I got to see the other side of HeartKids, less of the donation and charity side, but the actual kid and like child engagement side of things. And that was really eye-opening. I've never seen such a strong group of kids comparing scars and knowing exactly everything and anything about their life and their story. And that was so eye-opening.
That's really nice. That's so nice to know. Oh my God.
It was so cute.
Yeah. Was there like a moment for you, I guess, in that you're like, oh, like, wow, like this is kind of what we're doing this for?
Yeah. And I think I was always spoiled because randomly at my school, there was a girl in my year who was one of my best friends who was a heart kid that we met in year 7, and we were in the change rooms of swimming and we were comparing scars and went, oh my God, we're both heart kids. So I always had someone. And then I was speaking to these kids at these camps, and they're from either regional areas or they just have never bumped into anyone that's a heart kid. And they would come to the camps and they were automatically best friends. It's like they bypassed the whole getting to know you phase because they just went, what's your heart condition? What's my heart condition? We're best friends. And I took my relationship with my friend for granted because I just always had someone to bounce off. Whereas when I saw the camps, I went, oh my gosh, this is incredible for so many kids that don't have that.
I love that. I guess for you as well, we've spoken a little bit about physical health and like all that sort of stuff, but I suppose through your journey, has that had an impact on your mental health? And if so, what has your journey been like?
I think my journey with my mental health is, especially in regards to having a heart condition, I think I always struggled with being the strong one because having a heart condition as a child, they brand you as like the strongest kid out, which arguably not many kids go through that. So you are innately a strong individual. So then when you fall over, you stub your toe, you like hurt your elbow, or you do something that's smaller than heart surgery, there is a bit of, you went through heart surgery, this is nothing. And I think I did carry that for a really long time, and I probably didn't give myself credit to looking into the smaller things in life, or small things or if I did badly at school or if something was going on, I think I never gave myself enough credit to deal with the smaller things because I was a heart kid, I was strong, I never really had to do anything like that. So if I reflect on my mental health, it took me a really long time to just be okay and be vulnerable and know I'm not feeling well today, or yes, it's not heart surgery, but my feelings are hurt, or it's not, especially the difference with a physical and a mental ailment as well. I never really differentiated that because you went through such a physical problem that to deal with the mental side of things was something I was never going to kind of delve into. So it was a really long time to kind of separate what I'm feeling from being that brave heart kid, because it's just always been a part of me, and give myself time to let my mental health kind of get better.
I completely understand. But I suppose you said that, you've kind of had that step back and giving yourself the time to like rest and actually be okay with the things that aren't as big as heart surgery, which not many things are.
Not many things are.
How have you done that?
I think I kind of got to a point where I was having a few other surgeries, getting my shoulders done, all this stuff, and I kept going, if I'm going to use heart surgery, orthopedic surgery as my benchmark of what I'm allowed to feel upset about and what I'm allowed to be fine about, then I'm really going to keep struggling. And I think as well, it took me a really long time to realize that my close group, like my parents as well, they went through all the surgeries with me. So almost their defense mechanism is to go, oh, you're fine, because they've seen you at your worst. And I would say there's a self-protectionism for them because they're like, oh no, this is fine compared to that as well. So if I was looking for validation on my feelings to those external parties that have seen me go through that, I'm probably not going to get it. So I needed to take it on myself and go, you can't use those surgeries as a benchmark. You can't expect everyone else to be like validated as well. So I just took a lot of self-reflection from there. And now I can communicate that better to my parents going, no, I understand. I use my parents because I still live at home, but I can communicate to them being like, no, I'm not feeling very well, or I'm not feeling this, and just, communicate that better to them.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting with the heart parents as well, because you know that them putting a heart surgery at the top is such a protective thing. Like, you know that they don't ever want you to be as in pain or feel hurt. So they're like, well, you've
exactly
had really horrible things, so you'll be okay with everything else. I know you've got it. You're going to be fine. But like, they're not.
You're like, I'm not. I'm stressed.
So you're like,
I'm tired.
You're worried about me too, and we can just talk about us being worried about things. Like, this is so big.
I was like, we can do this together. Like, we can both be stressed. And they're like,
That's it. Just because you had a bub who had open heart surgery when they're little doesn't mean that you can't be upset about changes at work or the cost of living or anything else.
Yep. Because for some reason, I don't think anything gets bigger than that when you do it as a baby. So
We've done
a lot
at the beginning. We've come through. All right. Beautiful. I guess in terms of your support network now, so you have your family, your boyfriend, and your friends, like, what does that look like? Is that right?
Yeah. So I've got, still live at home with my family, and then, got a lovely boyfriend that I've been dating for a few years now, and then a really tight knit group of friends that I just love with the world. So, and they are all across, and I've had these friends for, like, some have come through school, some have come through uni, some have just come through life. So really diverse group of people around me.
I love that when you kind of collect people from all different parts of your life.
Yeah, and you're like, you're mine now, you can come with me.
Yeah. You get them in the room, you're like, y'all are so different.
Yes.
But you love each other, for sure.
Yeah. You all love me, so you have to love each other.
Yeah. Not long, everyone.
Yeah.
Easy. Look, 2023 is kind of, I was going to say kind of just started, but we're like quarter of the way in now, which is kind of crazy. What is on the horizon? What's coming? What are your plans?
This is dramatic year. I just had a shoulder reconstruction, hence why I'm sitting back on the couch looking like I'm not moving too much. So I'll get the medical 2023 out of the way, then I'll tell you the rest of it. And then I'm getting my hips reconstructed in June. So that's also dramatic because it's all part of having your heart condition. So that's taking up a lot of my year. But then I'm working full-time in this new job that I absolutely love. And then I'm also going to Hawaii at the end of the year. So, and I think I might finish my master's this year or next year. Who knows? We'll see
what
if
are you studying?
Carry a subject. I'm doing my master's of supply chain and logistics.
Love. Oh my God.
Yeah. Very rogue.
Queen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bit of a rogue transition from doing an arts degree, but loving it all the same.
I feel like I did an arts degree, and it's kind of like you just kind of start there and you're like, oh my God, the world is so big. So really,
every time you do an arts degree, I think everyone in my cohort is working in such different jobs. It's just ridiculous. You put us all in a room and there's someone saving the world, there's me moving things around, and then you've got someone else that's doing law, and you're like, wow, we're a diverse bunch.
That's it. I was like, it's 100% the thing. Like, Bachelor of Arts is like the gateway to the rest of the world. You can do whatever.
Absolutely.
The world is your oyster.
Genuine. And I'm very happy I did it. So now I'm just studying away.
Love. Beautiful. Well, look, thank you for sharing your story and everything about you with us today. It's been absolutely wonderful. It's been really nice. I feel like it's so many things that you said that I was like, oh my God, she gets it. She knows.
Yeah.
Which is so nice and validating.
So it's so nice.
Beautiful, beautiful. And look, is there anything else that you would like to note or add?
No, I think it's just, really cool that this is like this podcast and stuff has started, and there's more like a adolescent engagement in HeartKids, because I know it always was about the babies and now it's moving on, which I think is really, really cool. So
that's it. I think that's the nice, so what my parents used to always say is like, it's so nice to know that there's like kind of peace beyond the trauma of being a kid.
That's so interesting that your parents say that, because the reason that my parents kept, well, I loved doing it, but my parents were so strict on going every year to the Royal Children's, because as I was going at 12 and 13 and 14, Dad was like, the kids probably won't remember, but the parents seeing a 15-year-old, 14-year-old walking around the wards handing out presents is just one mum wrote me a letter back saying, like, this is the light at the end of the tunnel we needed to see. And I was just like, oh my gosh, you'll make me cry. But yes, very interesting.
I think, 100%, because I think, obviously, I'm not a parent, but I could never speak to that. But I think having this bub that you have no idea how to care for or look after, but seeing somebody who's like looks normal and is nice and is functioning and is vibrant would just be the most validating thing. So we're out here.
So we're here for that.
We're doing our best.
Yeah.
Easy. Oh, well, thank you. This has been great.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Sometimes this podcast deals with some heavy things. If this brings up anything for you or somebody that you love, it's important to reach out for help. The HeartKids helpline provides support and guidance for anyone impacted by congenital or childhood heart disease. You can call the helpline on 1-800-432-785. To access more information about childhood heart disease as well as support from HeartKids, visit the website at heartkids.org.au. The information on this podcast is not a substitute for medical advice from your doctor or healthcare team. Always talk to your doctor about matters that affect your or your family's health.